Hey, brothers and sisters, how are you doing? What's going on? Hope all is well. So, let's hear something completely new. I'm Michelle, and I'm going to continue on reading with Jim Stevens, a dear friend, wonderful brother of ours, good person to contact, and he'll tell it to you straight about this world and the next. So, I'm reading from the book he wrote. It's called 101 Proofs for God, and it has beautiful diagrams, as you can see on the outside, and as well it has great diagrams on the inside too. Okay, so now what these are, they're 101 proofs for the existence of God, like absolute proofs for the existence of God. Okay, all right, so we are by chance going to be reading the longest proof. So I hope you guys are sitting down, comfortable, relaxed, something cold to drink. All right. So the name of this particular proof is called the I, and it's number 45. Okay? All right. The I is a wonderful proof for God. The more you know about it, the more impossible it could come into existence without God, a supremely intelligent being having created it. Just follow along with me for some of what it does and how it does it. This is going to be my longest chapter because there's so much information and research done on the eye, and it is so astounding. I have read maybe 100 articles about the eye, and this post is hardly going to scratch the surface of the awesomeness of all the different types and abilities of the eye in creation. I'm not even going to cover many of the amazing parts. I hope you can read to the end of this. I tried to make every paragraph succinct and educational. Okay, thanks, Jim. The human eye can detect 7 to 10 million colors. That's more than any that's more than any machine known to man. All the colors we see are all within only 1.5% of the entire light spectrum. By such an amazing accident, an evolutionist would say, or incredible design, a religious person would say, our eyes see exactly the wavelengths of light where the color is and not the others. Those colors that we are able to see happen to be truly marvelous. Photoreceptor cells in our eyes can catch photons of light and send a signal to the brain, which interprets what color it is and distinguishes various objects. Evolutionists talk about some original light sensitive cell like it was simple. Just read about signal transduction in the eye and how receptors are chemically turned on and off instantaneously if you want to get an idea of how tremendously complicated it is to activate a photoreceptor. Evolutionists also never talk about all the millions of colors. Did photoreceptors recognize just one color in the beginning and then gradually over time accidentally become able to tell the difference in all the millions of colors? That's a hard one to believe because the ability to see any color at all is extremely complicated. I just take it for granted. Even if some first creature develops a photoreceptor cell, so what? It would be pointless for survival unless it was somehow connected to a brain that was also connected to a muscle system to provide movement. Evolutionists talk about the eye evolving to help the creature escape predators. Excuse me, if this is supposed to be the first eye to develop, then there are no predators with eyes yet. What are they escaping from? All right. Also, even having a photoreceptor cell is not valuable for survival unless there is some way to tell which direction the danger is coming from so you can escape in the other direction. There are way too many logical holes in these evolutionist faith statements. Their faith in evolution is blind. They don't even ask simple questions. The retina of the human eye is made up of an average of 120 million rods and 6 million cones, each with their own neuron that carries messages to the brain. And birds have 10 times that number. The rods see in black and white for night vision, and the cones see all the different colors. There are 3 types of cones that perceive different wavelengths. The retina is further divided into the macula, a small central area giving central vision, and the fovea, a small depression at the center of the macula, which gives the clearest vision. In the fovea, the blood vessels, the nerves, and ganglion cells are all displaced for better vision. The area in the macula is 100 times more sensitive than the rest of the retina. Wow. Does natural selection really explain how this could have developed gradually, step by step, with each step over sequential generations being better able to survive and pass on its genes? It would take millions of generations. That's not enough time. Humans all have eyes the same. So all 7 billion of us and all humans in history must have descended from an original ancestral couple that had eyes like we all have now. And eyes have never evolved since. And not one of all the millions of supposedly intermediate stages of eye is still around. Not one older stage ever shows up in random individuals either. Every other kind of eye or intermediate stage has disappeared completely. This all stretches even our imagination. All eyes have a lens made out of a transparent protein substance found nowhere else in the whole body. This lens must necessarily be formed out of a flexible substance, and it must have muscles to change its shape so it can alter the path of the incoming light and constantly refocus it on receptor cells. If you can't focus the light, you can't see anything. There are 12 muscles on the outside that move the eyeball around in the socket, including one that uses a pulley mechanism to swivel the eye. The superior oblique muscle. Please look up a diagram of eye muscles. Eye muscles come in pairs to move your eyes up and down, left and right. If the muscles only turned your eyes to the right, you would be stuck there until many generations later, when a muscle developed to pull them back left. The same is true if you only had a muscle to pull them up, but not one to pull them back down. Tilt your head, tilt your head, and your eyes adjust so you can still see well. Evolution hypothesizes that blind chance mutations have the amazing ability to come up with these changes so they can be selected for by natural selection, and that's total blind faith. How could the lens material and all those muscles happen accidentally without any intelligent design at all? One small change at a time will never produce a continuously workable eye. Recent discoveries have revealed that the muscles surrounding your eyes are amazing. They jitter at the rate of 30 to 70 microscopic movements per second all day, every day. If the muscles did not do this, you would not be able to focus as well because your brain's programming of the incoming signals removes any unchanging image. These jitter motions come in three types called drifts, tremors, and saccades. The ones named tremors move the cornea and retina about 0.001 millimeter, about 1/70th the width of a piece of paper. Our eyes do all this automatically. Here's a fact you probably learned in grade school. The lens inverts all the images coming through so it hits your retina upside down. Your brain automatically turns it right side up. If your brain didn't do that, you'd have a hard time escaping from any predators. The brain is taking upside down images from both your eyes, inverting them, and putting them back together. So, evolutionists don't talk about this either. Another necessary part of the eye is the iris, which opens and closes to let in varying amounts of light. Too much light, and you are blinded. You are probably not aware of how much work your iris is doing all day long because it's totally automatic. That sure is a nice ability to have, or you might be blinded or in the dark most of the time. And then there are also your eyelids. Some pretty useful pieces of skin with their own set of muscles. Each eye has over 50 glands in the eyelids for secreting oil, for lubricating the eyes. Wow. Everybody has tear ducts that come in mirror image sets for each eye. How does something like that happen by accident? Like every other detail of your eyes, you will find your tear ducts are like a miracle if you read up on the research to understand what they do and how they do it. Not only do you cry when something gets in your eye, but your tear ducts also work when you are emotionally moved. How do evolutionists explain that? Another essential ingredient to being able to see is the optic nerve. This statement is from Wikipedia. Each human optic nerve contains between 770,000 and 1.7 million nerve fibers, which are axons of the retinal ganglion cells. of one retina. In the fovea, which has high acuity, these ganglion cells connect to as few as 5 photoreceptor cells. In other areas of retina, they connect to many thousand photoreceptors. On top of everything else that happened by accident, for evolutionists, you also have to add the accidental development of an optic nerve, which would have no purpose unless there were photoreceptor cells on one end and the brain on the other. Of course, there is an optic nerve coming from each eye, thus doubling the number of nerve fibers to the brain, which interprets the signals. Even if the eye developed and then for some reason started sending electrical impulses to the brain, probably the most remarkable achievement of all is how the brain translates those impulses into seeing colors and then translating those colors into shapes and then giving them meaning. Darwin himself recognized that the unbelievable complexity of the eye was a problem for his theory, but then he went ahead and ignored it and assumed evolution anyway. The eye to this day gives me a cold shudder. The idea of natural selection producing the eye seems, I freely confess, absurd in the highest possible degree. So those were Darwin's words. Today, after all the scientific discoveries since Darwin, I think his comment about his natural selection theory to be absurd in the highest possible degree has been substantially proven. There are lots of diagrams you can find of the supposed evolution of the eye, but they're pure imagination. If you read the explanations carefully, you will always discover that they are hypotheses. In other words, complete conjecture. There is absolutely no fossil evidence for these diagrams. The diagrams are always described as likely, probably, or possibly. In other words, they are pure speculation and totally from the artist's imagination. Good morning. They assume evolution before they even draw the first stage. Evolutionists always talk like it's the gospel, but it's blind faith. If you look at an evolutionist diagram, imagining how an eye could evolve, you'll quickly see how they make huge leaps and changes in the design because they know where they want to get to. But all you have to do is use the old, slow and gradual argument that they themselves espouse and think about the real world. Every single minor change means a significant number of changes in DNA. How many generations need to live and die, live and die, live and die between the changes in the pictures? Remember, these are animals with only partial eyes that have to find a mate somehow. They have to pass the improvement to the next generation and not lose it. That means both the male and female have to have it, and it has to pass to all future generations and never get weeded out. If natural selection really works, it works both ways. Not only does it improve things, it should also eliminate unnecessary non-functional parts, or those that are a hindrance. Even if one eye could evolve, which is an unbelievable stretch, how do you account for two eyes right next to each other? That's got to be statistically hundreds of times more difficult. Most evolutionists make up an explanation for one eye and then stop. They still have to explain, how did we get two so perfectly connected and coordinated eyes working in harmony and also connected into the brain in order to give us parallax vision and three-dimensional mental images. Evolutionists have two main techniques to try to explain eye evolution. Logically, they fall apart because both techniques assume evolution before they start their explanation. This is called circular reasoning, using evolution to prove evolution. The most common is to notice other eye-like structures in nature and assume they were one of the steps in a long process that has never ever been seen. A helicopter may look like an intermediate step from a car to a plane, but so what? Applying the true logic reveals the false assumptions. Just because simple eyes exist and complex eyes also exist in nature, that is no proof that complex eyes evolved from simple eyes. Cars did not evolve from soapbox racers or skateboards just because there are design similarities. Secondly, evolutionists look in the womb and see the eye develop in stages which they call evolutionary stages. They may say that a seed growing is evolution, but it is not. Why is the growth process in the womb necessarily the explanation of the process that took millions of years? Also, a seed already has the full complement of DNA structure. It's not evolving. It's fulfilling instructions which are already there. That's a very good phrase. Evolutionists like to use what I'll call magic words. They sound nice, but they are totally unscientific, and no respectable scientist uses them. Here are examples that you'll find all the time: selective pressures, tinker, suggest, at some point, scenarios, hypotheses, diverging, proliferated, arose, favored, modified, emerged, developed, and so on. And the biggest one of all is may have. Those are not words used by real scientists with solid evidence. Passive, unthinking processes cannot do intelligent things. Evolutionists are really only telling a story that they already believe. They can make it up as they go along whenever there is an obstacle. Another problem that evolutionist believers have is their so-called tree of life, where all species developed from a single cell. Since mammals, fish, birds, insects, amphibians, and etc. all have different types of eyes and are on different branches of the tree, therefore, the evolution faith requires that all the different types of eyes evolved independently of each other. The Wikipedia article states that complex eyes have evolved between 50 and 100 separate times in evolution. Imagine the mathematical odds against that. Can you? Evolutionists are forced to believe that eyes not only evolved one time in history, but 50 to 100 separate times. To make it even more impossible, almost always the animal developed exactly 2 of them by accident. 2. Why not 3? Why not 1? Why not 6? Why not at the back of your head? Why do they always develop just, right in the front all the time? Wikipedia quietly admits that since the fossil record, particularly of the early Cambrian, is so poor, it is difficult to estimate the rate of eye evolution. If you read their article with a critical eye for logical and rational challenges, you'll be amazed at the continual leaps of faith they espouse. So, you should know the truth. You should know the truth about anything. The fossil record only shows eyes already developed, never a partial eye. The oldest eye in the fossil record, that of a trilobite, is a very complex, faceted, compound eye that dates back to the Cambrian, conventionally dated about 540 million years ago. Did you get that? The oldest fossils with eyes, trilobites, already have a fully developed eye. In fact, a very complex one at that. Another way that I could put it is that there are no fossil record. There is no fossil record at all to support evolution of the eye. Or you could also say that any evolution of the eye is pure speculation because there is zero existing evidence for it. Here is another statement admitting that evolutionists have no idea how an eye could evolve. Listen to this. The curious thing, however, about the evolution of the vertebrate eye is the apparent suddenness of its appearance and the elaboration of its structures in its earliest known stages. They just do not know where eyes came from or how, but they admit that eyes appeared suddenly. That is not evolution, by the way. Remember, I've only covered some of the amazing aspects of the eye. The eye was awesomely designed, but evolutionists just won't accept it. They just can't see it. So there is truly God. So that was wow. Truly wow. Thank you so much, Jim. Yeah. Thank you, God. I appreciate my eyes so much more now. Okay. I will see you another time. Okay. Goodbye. Have a good day.